So, Laura, bit of one out of left field first. How's the trumpet playing going?
The trumpet career has gone downhill, unfortunately. It was more of a COVID activity, and then, it comes out when we've had a couple of drinks, so it's like a party trick, but I usually have to write down the notes on my hand so I can remember.
How far did you go? What tune did you actually almost get down?
I could play Uptown Funk, which is like Uptown Funk you up. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do.
It's not bad. That's not bad. But we won't see you next Anzac Day.
No. I did say that I was going to play at my brother's wedding, but then that did not happen. And I don't know. Maybe one day when I am a little bit scad, I'll get back into some trumpet lessons. I'd love to do it. It's actually really great for breath hold training.
Right.
That's why when I sort of started doing it, I was like, well, it'd be kind of good to do something that has like a double sort of.
Kill two birds with the one stone type scenario. Yeah.
Totally. And so I actually noticed it when I did my trumpet lessons and I'd go do like an underwater breath hold after, like it was so much better.
I can just see Mark Healy.
They both work with each other.
I can see all the big wave surfers now taking up the trumpet. You've just inspired them.
Totally.
That's the ultimate alternate training program.
I'll just be playing the trumpet before going out to surf jaws. Warm up the lungs.
So going way back, so you grew up in Narrabeen. And you loved Narrabeen so much that your family used to actually even go and have family holidays in the Narrabeen Caravan Park.
Yeah, it was like the closest we ever felt like we could get to living to North Narrabeen Beach. So we'd all, we lived all, 5-10 minute bike ride from the beach. So that was our like family holiday. You get to know what it's like to be down on the beach and being able to walk there or just like paddle there every day down the lake. So we, it actually was the best place to holiday as a kid. Like the parents would sometimes just leave us there, go home, and then we've just got like 10 kids in a tent just running around Narrabeen.
Nothing beats caravan park life as a kid, that's for sure.
It was so good. It was an awesome place to grow up, and I know for other people coming to Narrabeen, it was very probably shit and intimidating to be a girl that didn't grow up in that space. And wasn't until I sort of started surfing other areas, especially on the northern beaches or, around Australia, where I was like, okay, I definitely am intimidated in the lineup at other breaks. That's not like my home break.
Yeah.
There's just some, scary localism out there. So I think, everyone's felt it once, twice, a lot in their life.
Was surfing your only pursuit, or were you into gymnastics and other things as well?
Yeah, I was actually just a really keen gymnast when I was younger. So my mum, she was a kindy gym teacher. So when I was like a baby, I grew up in the gymnastics centre at Narrabeen. And so my brother and I got into gymnastics, and by the time I think I was like 8, I was in level 6 or 7, and we were spending like 30 hours plus a week at the gymnastics centre, and I had gymnastic posters all over my wall. My brother was amazing. Chris could have trained on to be like on one of the Olympic squads. So when we both decided we were going to retire at 12, I think I wasn't as good as him. He was a gun. He would win all the state titles and everything and come home with like 10 medals, and I was just like couldn't point my toes, had like wobbly knees. Like they were like, good try, Laura. But when we quit gymnastics for surfing, we were both very happy to be outside more, and
Mum was a bit upset, but
no, Mum was actually stoked because by that time it was costing so much money for us to do gymnastics. She's like, "Hey, surfing's free. We just buy them a surfboard, buy them a wetsuit, and off they go. We can drop them at the beach, and we don't have to, pick them up. They can, they can hang there all day."
Do you think it's actually a really great foundation for surfing, though, as a training? Like you see so many surfers doing so many different types of training, but one could argue that gymnastics is actually probably the best foundation that you can have.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I feel like it gave me like a sense of sort of fearlessness. By the time I was like 8, we're doing, massive sort of somersaults and tumbling and doing round. What do they call around? I can't even remember what they called.
Yeah.
Like all the
somersaults,
all those things. So and then I think just the strength you get from it as well, like and sort of flexibility and discipline. I think it's pretty awesome. And then I was also very into nippers as well. Like I was a clubby, and loved my board paddling, and I think that also gave me like just so much confidence in surf. They would just chuck us out at Narrabeen. I think they probably moved them to the lake now if it's over 3 foot, but they used to just send us out when it was like 4 to 6 foot on your little foamy clubby board, and you have to get through the break and get back in without and if you lost your board, you're on your own. You have to swim in. So I think that was like a very quick way to get very confident and comfortable when it's big in the water and in rippy conditions.
These are the secrets to the famed Laura Enever confidence. Certainly never been short on confidence. I don't know if that's a consequence of the things you did or whether that was just always there? Were you always quite plucky and quite confident personality-wise?
Yeah, I think so. I was probably just annoying as a kid. I think everyone was like, oh, shut up, Laura. But I think I just loved being competitive with my brother, and we did so many of the same sports. I basically, wanted to do everything that he did. I did touch football as well, and wanted to play rugby. Dad was like, no, you're going dancing. You're not just going to do rugby. But I did. I wanted to do everything that Chris did. And we had this sort of competitive nature when
What's the age gap like?
It's 3.5 years.
3.5 years,
yeah. Okay. But, when we both started surfing together, we just surfed every morning and afternoon and got very competitive with each other.
Very quickly. So you were you were the world junior champion, both ISA and ASP. Did that bring a lot of expectation with it once you've done that?
I think, when I was younger and coming through, the Grom comps and the junior events, I was very I was competitive, but I was very happy-go-lucky and I really didn't care if I won or lost in a way, but I just had no pressure on myself, and I always just ended up getting these amazing results, and it wasn't even like I was thinking about it. If I won, I was stoked. If I didn't, it wasn't the end of the world type thing. And then it felt like, all of a sudden I'd gone from, I wasn't actually one of the very best surfers when I was younger. I was a bit awkward. I was kind of like a little grasshopper. And just then the style and flow came as I got a bit older, and I tried different boards and everything, and then it all sort of came together. And by the time I was 17, I'd sort of accidentally qualified for the world tour. I'd won both the ISA World Junior title and then the World Junior title at 17, and then got my spot onto the tour. And I remember I think I just turned 18, and I'd already qualified that November. My birthday's in November, and the next year I was like, I'm only 18, maybe I won't even take the spot. And then I was like, no, this is ridiculous. You got to take it. What if I never did well in the QS again? And that was it. But I remember sort of feeling like, I don't even really know if I just want to be normal. I want to be a normal 18-year-old. I went to a normal public school, and although I wasn't there much, I think I loved my friends and that social life and just that bit of normalcy and stuff. So I think I was like, I want to be a kid a bit longer. And then anyway, jumped on tour and same thing, had no pressure. Got third in my first ever CT.
That's right, made the semis at the Gold Coast.
Yeah, made the semis, beat Steph as well, that event. And then I was like, wow, this is amazing. So glad I took my spot, third in the world, 18, and then couldn't make a heat for the next 6 comps. And then literally after that, I was like, okay, then the pressure just started tumbling down. I was like, okay, this is what it feels like to be stressed. And then, you kind of just, you know what it's like to get these results easily. And then when they're not coming easily, you're against the best people in the world, you can't make mistakes, then everything sort of started unraveling for me. And I'd find moments throughout my career on tour where I felt usually at the start of the year, I just could be a bit, go into it with a bit of a good headspace. And then as the year went on, I just would sort of unravel. But, I ended up getting 10th on tour, I think 6 times out of my 7 years on tour. And so I was very consistent at coming number 10, which is also the cutoff, the bubble. Yeah. So you could imagine how stressful that was every year.
Yeah, that is stressful. Did you thrive on competition? Did you like competition?
I think as I was doing my time on tour, I realised winning and putting together a really good heat and surfing to your potential feels really nice, and then, you know, getting results feels amazing. But then I just didn't feel like I was ever as competitive as the other girls were. And I just, probably got a bit distracted along the way, but just didn't really ever feel like I ever wanted to truly be world champion. I just wanted to and I think I had to really own that. And I realised that I was like, what are you doing here? Like, do you want to be a world champion? I'm like, not really. I just want to be like the best surfer I can be. And then I loved going on surf trips and getting barreled. Loved surfing these beautiful, perfect waves. I always did really well when it was big. So when I, you know, went to Fiji and had these like awesome heats over there, I got a 10 over there. And like whenever we'd go to Hawaii and it was big, I just was like, this was my time. I just felt like I switched on when it got big in heats. And when it was kind of not that good, I just sort of unraveled and fell apart a bit.
I mean, you're quite a gregarious, sort of friendly person. Was it difficult to be fiercely competitive with people who are always also your friends? Did you struggle with that at all?
I think we all had this sort of unspoken thing where we'd say, you know what, whatever happens in the water stays in the water. Yeah. I think everyone sort of says that. We would all travel together and stay together, and whoever won, you know, I'm sure deep down everyone would be like, bummer.
Yeah.
You know, every heat that you're missing out on is extra money or extra points, and everyone's running their own race. So, we kind of empathised with each other and then sympathised, and also were really happy when everyone did well.
So you never really saw the friendships tested?
No, the friendships weren't. They weren't ever really tested. I'm sure. I know people weren't that stoked to get if I was to beat them, because I think I just seemed so far from.
Because you didn't appear to be taking it as seriously as they were.
Yeah, exactly. That was sort of the thing. Everyone was, I was having a lot of fun along the way as well. And so if I did well, it was, it was like I wasn't trying as hard, but I definitely was. I was sacrificing a lot and really wanted to, just do well and get results. I would love to have made the top 5, and I just could never really put together a whole complete year.
But you started to get this inkling while you were on tour that you had a thing for bigger waves.
Yeah.
And then you got a spot in the 2016 Piahi Challenge. How did you actually claim that slot?
Yeah, I mean, it was funny the way the whole how it all worked out. I've always loved big waves since I was younger. Like, even I think I was saying before, when I wasn't the best surfer as a Grom, every year at the Rusty Grom Fest, it would just be like 10 foot, and like you'd have to go paddle out at the point, walk basically like a kilometre up the beach to paddle out. And I was like one of the only girls to ever get out the back when it was big. All the other girls were surfing on the shore break, and I'd paddle out and then get like a big wave and just like surf it way worse than the other girls, but it's a big wave out the back, so I would win. So I think I always loved these big waves since I was younger, and then went on a trip to P-Pass. That was like my first time in big barreling sort of waves of consequence over there.
I think we ran that as a tracks trip.
Yeah, and that was, I think, when I was 17. It was right before I won the World Juniors, and then went back there a couple more times. And I think, by the time 2016 came around, I was getting a bit sick of surfing crap waves, because I would, I'd do the World Tour and then I'd do the QS at the same time. It wasn't like it was crap waves. It was just so many events. Like, I was just getting burnt out from competing, doing 20 events a year, because at that time you obviously had to do the CT, and then you'd go from CT, QS, CT, wherever the schedule was.
Qualification as well on the QS.
Yeah. So I always do the QS as well as the CT, so at least 20 events a year. And by the end of it, I was just like,
one event every 2 weeks.
Yeah, literally. Sometimes just being on the road for like 4 or 5 months at a time, just going from CT, QS, and I just knew I needed to surf some waves and like find the soul in it again. And so I literally the next year was like, okay, every break I get, I don't care if I'm away the whole year, I'm just going to go put aside a bit of money and go chase a swell there. Mm-hmm. And 2015 or 16 was the year that I did that, and I just went on a trip. As soon as I lost it, snapper, I just saw a swell in Fiji, went over there as soon as I lost, and the next event went and did as well, I think Tahiti or P-Pass or wherever I could. And I think at the end, like midway through that year, Peter Mel came up to me and was like, it was October, and I just requalified for the CT again, and he was like, hey, like I know you've been going to all the like chasing swells this year. Would you like ever consider doing the Piahi invitational event? And I was like, what? Are you, like that stage was going to be the first ever women's side of it, and I was like, fuck, I've never actually paddled on a board over 6'3".
Yeah.
I mean, I probably rode a 7.0 or something out Sunset that I borrowed from somebody, but yeah, I'm like, what size boards do you need for that? And he's like, oh, you probably need to get like a 9.6 or a 10.0. And I was like, all right, well, I was like, look, it'll be a maybe from me. I just went home and just started looking at all these videos of Jaws online, and then I was like, no way am I doing that.
Yeah.
And then he told me, he goes, look, we wouldn't run you guys when it's like 20 foot, we'd run you when it's 15 foot. So I just went back on YouTube and wrote 15-foot glassy Jaws, and that's what he said. He was like, it won't be windy either. We'll make sure it's like beautiful conditions. And I typed into YouTube 15-foot glassy Jaws, and then I watched a few waves, and I was like, you know what, I reckon I could do that. I reckon I could surf 15-foot glassy Jaws. So in my head, I was like, okay, I'm going to start training anyway from then. So I went home and did, the next, like, I thought I would have up until, December or January. I did 3 weeks of breath hold training and training in the gym, and ordered my boards, but they didn't come in time because they called the contest on 3 weeks later. And I'd done about 10 pool sessions. So it was like this late October, late October first swell of the season, and they just said, green light, we're going. Jaws is on, and I was just
fly in from Oz.
Fly from Oz in the next few days. And I think I'd literally done never been there, like never even got to try my new boards because they didn't even get made in time. And
so you borrow a board?
Yeah, so I went over there and borrowed all my equipment. I just messaged Greg Long, was like, can I borrow a board? And then I need inflation, and so I got a Billabong inflation suit, and then everyone just hooked me up with stuff as soon as I got there, but just definitely had the biggest like sense of imposter syndrome when I went to like the first safety meeting over there. Because the few days before, I literally was like changing my mind every hour. I was like, okay, I'm going to go. Then I was like, no, you're not going. This is ridiculous. Like, no, silly.
By this stage, you've seen the real forecast, and you're thinking, it doesn't look like 15-foot glassy Jaws coming up.
No, well, yeah, it looked like they could have run maybe the day before, and then obviously that swell definitely over-delivered. It was just huge. So it was
kind of more like wind-ripped 30-foot Jaws.
It wasn't meant to be as windy as it was either, and I think, a few days before, because you have like maybe the green calls 7 days out, then the yellow calls 4 days out. Then I think a couple of days before, the wind just like kicked up a bloody lot. And so when I got over there, I just was like, okay, you know what? I'm here. I don't actually have to catch a wave. That was my whole mindset going into that event was, look, you couldn't be in a better place if you wanted to try catch a wave there for the first time. There's like every single person has like 2 jet skis to them catching a wave. You've done your breath hold training for 3 weeks. Wish it was 3 months. But I mean, in 3 weeks, I got my breath hold up to about 3.5 minutes. So, and did all these really cool sort of underwater, sort of activities where you just stimulation type things, and just as much as you could really do to try to...
As prepared as you perhaps could be in 3 weeks.
Yeah, in 3 weeks. But, so I was like, you know what, I feel like if I got a huge set on the head, I could hold my breath for 3.5 minutes, and I've been able to work out how to do that and keep the heart rate down, but nothing can ever prepare you for like how intense your heart rate will be when you are paddling out freaking 25-foot Jaws. But, I actually saw the wave for the first time like half an hour before the heat, because the boats, organising everyone to get out there was just a bit of a, there was just a lot going on, so I only got out there to see the wave in person 35 minutes before the heat, and then I just was like, all right. Greg Long put me on the back of a jet ski and took me out the back and showed me some of the lineups, and then he was like, it's really, really the 9.6 that I had you practice on yesterday at one of the beaches close by, and he was like, okay, you're going to have to ride this 10-6 now. Like, it's big, it's windy, like, just try to catch anything you can. And if you think you paddle into it like a few more times because you won't be into it. And yeah, definitely learned that the hard way on my first wave.
Can you, like, when you're paddling to a wave, you can't see anything, I assume. So you're kind of like blind faith a little bit.
Oh, it just felt like it was so windy. It felt like you were going over like a 2-foot chop just to get down the face. But yeah, I swung on this first wave when I got out there. I had the lineup where the boys had said, so I kind of had a good idea of like the lineups. And that was also what we were sort of trying to work on. And when you're not out there, like what are the things you can work on, trying to the lineups and this and that. But yeah, the first wave I paddled for, I just thought maybe it was a mid-size set, and just because I didn't really have like a gauge on what was big and what was like extremely big, and paddled into this lump, and it was just like huge, and just got like was not into it at all. Like jumped to my feet and then just realised, okay, like just get out of the back of this one. Jumped off the back and then was like, oh, I actually might have just got out of that. It's like sweet, and then started feeling the delay of the pull over the falls, but because the wave's so big, it's just delayed. Yeah. I was like, okay, crap, here we go. You gotta go over the falls on a 25-footer at Jaws. So I just like pulled my inflation vest and was like, just get ready for this. Like I don't know what to expect, and then it kind of just like detonated me and pushed me like so far down. I felt my ears pop, and then just like shot me up like a rocket. Like I just felt like I went into like this weird like freaking water like SeaWorld freaking ride or something. Yeah. I just got shot back out, like kind of went down, tumbled, then shot back up, and I actually came up kind of like where I took off on the wave. I don't know how that happened because all the jet skis are looking for me like a lot further in, and I'd just like sort of freakishly just popped out of that one, and then was like, okay, wow, shake it off. Let's try get another wave. And the next wave I made it down the face, and I dropped it on Flick Palmatier, and then jumped off that one, and then I got a set on the head after, and the set on the head just like ripped my MCL in half.
2 waves at Jaws, MCL gone.
2 waves at Jaws, and then a set on the head that just like detonated my knee, like just from the sheer like power of it, just like ragdolling me. And it was funny because like Josh Kerr and a few of the other big wave guys, they were all joking about how I should have taped my knees up because they kind of like when I had all my impact suit on, they're just like, oh, your legs look so like chickeny right now. Like I think we need to tape them. And then afterwards, they're like, we should have taped the knees up.
So just ran, and straight away you would have known that it was gone.
Well, I think there's so much adrenaline like pumping through you that I was like, oh, that felt like bad, but then the pain, I think with the MCL tear, it's painful, but then it kind of goes away because you've just torn it, and then it doesn't sort of start like, getting inflamed and sore again for like another sort of, so like it was when my heart rate and adrenaline started coming down, and I was back on the boat. I was like, I'd made the final, and I was like, I'm going to do it for sure. Like I just wanted to, I was very determined to go get a wave, and then the longer I sat in the boat, the more my knees started like just blowing up, and I was like, okay, I think I've actually done something really bad now, and ended up being the MCL tear.
And so that injury it did linger for a while, and it probably jeopardised your performance on the regular tour the following year.
Yeah, for sure. I think by the time I went on to back in, it was 2017 or 18, whatever my last year was, I just did that whole year. I didn't do the whole year, sorry. I missed a few events because of the injury. And then when I came back to competing, I just like was not into it at all. I just knew, I was like, no, this is not for me. I think after surfing Jaws and going through that experience, probably my whole family and team and managers and sponsors, they must have thought like, all right, that was a good experience. She got hurt. Probably time to just, forget about that one. And then I was like, well, I just, in my head was the opposite. I wasn't excited to get my knee better to go do the tour. I was excited to get it better to try go back to Jaws and try, properly, I guess go back and surf probably something smaller than what I surfed and make my way back up to that pinnacle and try to get a wave like that again. So that was like my whole mindset had shifted from there, and I think everyone just thought I was absolutely bonkers. They're like, you just like got the worst injury of your career and like you just want to go.
So there was so obviously at the end of that year you sort of finished with the tour. Was there not a crossroads moment of like, oh, maybe I'll do something else, or maybe I'll get a job as a team manager for Billabong? It was like, no, you were quite...
Oh, no, it was either... I would have just stayed on tour or that. And I was like, I had a few years left on my contract with Billabong, and I just said to them, like, I just want to go and try do this, like, big wave thing. And they were like, all right, well, yeah, like, see how you go. I think in their head they're just like, Laura, that's nuts. And then the next photo that came out was me, like, going over the falls at, like, huge ship sterns, like, a few weeks later. But, I think like I just had these like incredible wipeouts like the first year of my big wave career. That was just ridiculous. But I think after that wipeout at Shippies, I was like, hey, now you need to go and just really do all the work to just make your way back up to these waves and stop throwing yourself in the deep end and getting like the wipeout of the day. Sometimes it's the best way to learn, but I just wanted to be able to go up, make my way back up and to those waves, and then got to get a really good one at both of those eventually years later. So
you basically label yourself as a big wave surfer after the tour, and in doing that it sort of comes with, there's an expectation. Suddenly, like every time there's a swell, it's like everyone else expects you and yourself is like, okay, should I be charging that wave? Should I be on a plane to Tahiti? Like automatically the mindset shifts.
Yeah, I think when I first made that decision to stop the tour, I put a lot of pressure on myself to like really sort of show everyone that I was going to do this, and I think I was so used to traveling all year anyway. So I was like, every swell I just wanted to like go, and sometimes you just need with big wave surfing, which I realised quite quickly, you don't need to chase everything. And I was chasing everything and ended up making Undone, my film as well, where we chased so much those 2 winters. And it was an amazing quick way for me to get really confident and better in those waves. And I think it just made me realise as well, obviously you watch someone like Nathan Florence, they're going everywhere. But sometimes it's just whatever you feel and whatever your goals are, personal goals within that, which is what I just started really trying to work out what I wanted from big wave surfing.
So there is a learning curve though, like suddenly you've got to learn to ride different boards. You had to teach yourself to drive a jet ski, had to learn to tow in, had to learn to tow someone else in. So there's all these other new skills you have to learn.
Yeah, it's a completely different sport, especially tow surfing. I mean, tow surfing is I ran my brother over on the jet ski and like blew out his knee, and that was like
that features in the movie.
Features in the movie, and I think I'm scarred from like ever reversing a jet ski into the water after that, and thankfully he's forgiven me for that one.
Yeah, he took it pretty well, I have to say.
He took it pretty well. Oh my gosh, his little sister just blew out your knee with a jet ski. But yeah, it was his fault. He should have moved out of the way. But no, you got to learn all these different things, and things aren't going to be easy or smooth. There's just like nightmare scenarios that happen. Just all these things that you could happen will happen. Especially you could be in the middle of the desert and
we saw that in the movie.
Your tyres blow up in flames, and then you have to get the jet ski towed for like $3,000 for a couple of 1,000 kilometres.
Yeah, it's a completely different headspace where it's more about preparation, learning different skills. How is your basic jet ski mechanics now? Can you?
Yeah, they're a lot better. I'm a lot calmer. I mean, it did take me 3 goes to get my own driving licence. So I think there's it's all you got to be confident, and you also have to be like, you just get better and better every time driving those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you do want to surf...
I mean, don't chuck me out Nazare saving someone yet, but we're getting there.
But yeah, if you do want to surf a wave on the other side of the continent, you've got to drive 5,000 kilometres with a jet ski hitched on a trailer. So
yeah, and especially with those slabby tow-in waves, I wanted to be able to go there and be able to have partner up with someone where I could tow them in and they could tow me, and I wasn't just sort of just sitting around going like, hey, can I jump in and still get a couple of waves, and there's everyone's got their teams already, and I think that's we did so much chasing those slabby waves with Undone, and it gave me so much experience and confidence, and then at the end of those sort of 2 years, I got back to Jaws. That was my first time paddling over there. Since I'd had that MCL tear, and kind of finally after 3 years got the monkey off the back after I'd spent 2 years just sort of making my way back up. But paddle surfing and tow surfing is a completely different thing now, and it's very different sport as well, and paddle surfing you're on your own. Someone can whip you into the biggest wave of the day at Shippies or anywhere, but you have to paddle yourself into those waves at these other spots, and that I think is where I felt the most empowered when I finally got that wave at Jaws again, and I realised that I paddled into this wave and no one even called at me to go. I just identified the wave, got myself in the spot, and then got myself down the face, and those feelings of being able to do that is where I definitely felt the most proud of myself.
I guess there's two things that work simultaneously, because you're a sponsored big wave surfer now. So there's partly that personal desire to ride a wave that meets your expectation of what's challenging and what's going to be enjoyable. But you're also thinking, well, I've got to try and ride a wave that shifts the envelope, that actually is going to make the clip, or that's going to make an audience remember something as well. So there's also that pressure as well. It's I've got to get a big one.
Yeah, and honestly, I felt that pressure when I first started, and then I think quickly you realise, okay, this sport can you can get injured so easily. You can get life-changing injuries. You could die. You can drown. You could, there's so many dangers when it comes to the sport that I think for me, I realised quite quickly I want to do the best I can, but I wasn't going to ever push myself or put myself in a place where I felt so uncomfortable or it felt so wrong. And I think that's where instinct comes into it. And I remember I listened to a Shane Dorian interview where he was like, there's been times I've gone out to the wave and I've just looked at it and said, not today. Yeah. And those were the best words that I could have heard, because you could let the pressure and everything get to you and make you make stupid sort of decisions. And after getting hurt and then, sort of escaping from with just minor injuries, I was like, you know what, I don't want this to be something that I do and do silly. You have to do it smart, and you have to do it for the right reasons. And I think I learned that very quickly. And you have to feel better about saying no sometimes. I've gone to go surf hours a few times, and it's just been a bit wobbly and wonky, and I just said, no, I'm just not feeling it today. And that's totally fine. I think being able to feel okay and with saying no makes you proud of yourself in a whole other way. It's not, throwing in the white flag. It's just saying, oh, I'm not feeling it. Yeah.
Compared to riding small waves or competing, what's the single most important skill in riding a big wave that you think is different, the one that you learnt? Is it just a good bottom? What's the skill you think that becomes most important?
I think just positioning and knowing when to paddle and which angle to paddle. And, I think just being able to position yourself in the lineup. When you go out at these waves, like Jaws and then the outer reefs on Oahu, it's just the hugest playing field, and, being able to work out where you want to be and what wave you want to identify, and then pulling the trigger when it comes is a whole nother thing. It's just, that paddle power. I think when it comes to big wave surfing, even though I'm really small and wouldn't be a typical sort of, I don't know what a typical big wave surfer build would be, but maybe a lot more muscly than me. But so many of the women that are doing it are all petite. So I just found so much inspiration from them. And then, people like Tom Carroll and Ant-Man, who are some of Australia's best big wave surfers that are all very petite. And, I find that I think my paddling from when I was at surf lifesaving has given me the most confidence to know that I could paddle a board really quickly into these waves, and that's going to be like make or break, really.
Do you think you have an advantage in some respects having competed at an elite level and being a really good surfer against some of the surfers in the big wave realm that are just like, I'm just going to charge? Do you think sometimes that, you look like a Shane Dorian, for example, or, you know, who's competed at a very high, who's also a very skilled surfer?
Yeah.
Sometimes that comes into play?
Yeah, I think maybe. I feel like when I go out when it's huge, I become like more focused than even when I was on tour. Like even when I was in any heat, like it was so hard for me to stay extremely focused for a whole 30 minutes. When I was on tour, I've just like got ADD and a bit of a distracted brain. But when I go out when it's really big, it's like you are on that whole time. You're just constantly like looking out to the horizon. Is there a set coming? Is that going to be a clean-up set? Do I have to charge out? Do I have to come in? Like all these different things that you're doing, it's just non-stop when you're out when it's big. And, positioning where these other people are, making sure you're not going to like have a collision if you take off with on a wave. And, so there's just, for me, when I surf big waves, it's like the most like calm and focused version of myself that I've ever been able to know, which is
that's the attraction, right?
Yeah,
you
which is why I love it.
You want to be in that state of mind. Yeah.
Like I literally don't think about anything else in the world in that moment. It's like you are so in the present moment that it's like I just love it so much. Like you just, and then when, even if you just get a wipe out in one of the sessions, it's like the adrenaline rush is insane. Getting just like feeling that power of the ocean, and then obviously getting a wave is just like an even better adrenaline rush.
What about your most recent big wave conquest, which was an outer reef in Hawaii, the one that's made a lot of press, which they're potentially calling maybe the biggest wave paddled by a woman? I don't know if it's official yet, but it's being talked about in that context. But tell us about that moment a little bit. Yeah,
I mean that. It's still with the WSL and Guinness science team getting measured, but that was a total like accident. I wasn't out there that day trying to catch the biggest paddle wave I could, but I think what I described to you before was that's how it felt being out there. Like that day was so big, and we actually
same day as the Eddy was held.
Yeah, same day as the Eddy was held, which shocked everyone that morning. Like there's a clip of John walking down the beach, going like kind of looking a bit like frazzled, being like, I didn't think it was going to be this big today. Like having to change boards and put an extra bit of inflation on or like padding on to get out there. But I think it just shocked everyone that morning. I picked Felicity up, Palmateer up at like 10 to 6 that morning, so it was in the dark, and by the time we got to Waimea Bay, there was just people everywhere. People had just been driving. People camp overnight there. It's just the biggest scene, and we got stuck in traffic at the bay, like right where the church is, and we were stuck there for like 35, 40 minutes. So by the time we got around, it was a very misty morning, so you couldn't really see a lot, but all the reports was like, it was like, I think something like 20-something feet at 20-something seconds. So and it was
big
just
sweltering period,
it was just,
which translates to more like 30 to 40 feet.
Yeah, 30 to 40 foot. And we ended up driving down the coast a little bit and tried to check this spot, but you couldn't see because all the sea mist was there.
Okay.
So like you couldn't really tell how big it was. We were like, okay, we know it's big. We had a couple of guys that were helping us out that were going to do some water safety. Jojo Roper came and we were messaging him, and he'd gone and got a wave at Waimea, then drove the ski over to this other outer reef, and then he messaged us and was like, it's really big. And we were like, in Flick, we were just like, he said it's really big. I wonder how big it is. Like, we
you're
can't
just on
see.
the beach talking about it.
Me and Flick were kind of like
staring at the misty ocean, trying to figure it out.
We went and got another coffee in Haleiwa, and then we were just sort of we watched the first heat of the Eddy online, but also you couldn't really see. It was like very misty. And then by that stage, Jojo was like, hey, girls, I'm ready to pick you guys up on the beach. Like, just letting you know, it's like there's 30-foot sets coming through. It just cleaned up the whole lineup. And me and Flick looked at each other and were like, sounds a bit crazy, doesn't it? And then we both were just like, well, I guess we'll go look at it. Like, we're here. We've already got like 3 layers of wetsuits on. Like, we've just got our boards already. Like, we're not going to turn around. Like,
We're calling ourselves big wave surfing.
We're not going to drive back through that bloody eddy traffic. Like, we'll just be stuck in traffic. So we were like, we're going. Like, so we jumped on the ski and got out there. And when I walked down the beach, there was like 6 boards that had washed up, like a few half boards, people like just coming out. And then like I saw one guy, he was like white. He was like, the biggest wave I've ever seen in my life, just broke on my head. And I was like, oh, how big you reckon? He was like, I don't know, 30-footer, like I'd solid, maybe more. I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, how many of those sets have come through? He was like, that was the only one. Like, that was like a bomb set. So anyway, I was like, okay, there's these rogue bomb sets. We got back out there. Another one hadn't come yet. But Jojo, he was like, get off the ski. If you sit here, you just won't want to go out. Just go. And he goes, I'll whistle if I think there's a bomb set coming. So we're out there. And
so he urged you into the lineup and said, don't watch it. If you watch it, you won't go.
So he goes, if you keep watching it, you just won't want to go out. Yeah. And he's like, just go over there and just see how you go. And then like the first set came through and it was like a mid-sized set and it was just breaking so top to bottom. And I watched someone just like jump over like on a 25-footer like from top to bottom and it was like pipe but like freaking huge. And I was like, wow, okay, it's like also barreling slab and like it looks like you have to do like the most technical drop in the world to like get in there. So I was like, this is going to be really hard. And then within like 5 minutes people were like whistling because they thought another bomb set was coming, but then it wasn't a bomb set. So everyone was just like really freaked out about these huge sets coming, also knowing it was picking up throughout the day as well. And eventually I think after like 5 or 10 times of us all, everyone in the lineup just like darting out the back and then the set not being like a 30-footer and us all being a bit far out, I just decided, okay, I'm going to just sit a bit further out wider and like there was a couple of sets that came through that just swung wide and I just sort of identified that they weren't as top to bottom as the ones that were like deeper on the peak. So, yeah, I kind of just sat further out and like further out and wide and this wave just ended up coming to me maybe like half an hour later and I just like was in this perfect spot for it and I was like, I think I can actually catch this. And it was like one of the big ones that had come through. But and
how long have you got to decide before you catch the wave, do you reckon?
Oh, I think I saw it and everyone had – I was sitting wide and further out, but everyone that was deeper and they'd all paddled way further out because they thought it was going to be like a bomb. And the first set kind of backed off a bit and I was like, okay, perfect spot. And I was like, no one was calling me, telling me to go. No one was like really saying anything and I don't know what came over me. I was like, I think I can catch this. I'm in the spot. I'm just going to like put my head down and paddle. And I remember like paddling my heart out. I just felt it pick me up. And then I knew it was big. And then I took off and looked down. And I was like, wow, this is the biggest wave you've ever been on. Like this is wild. And I just remember like grabbing my rail and like taking the drop and just like the drop just felt like forever. And then I got to the bottom and I felt like I was knifing it, which I look back at the footage and I could have probably been knifing it a bit longer, but a bit sort of more to try and make it around the section. But I just got to the bottom of it, looked up, and I just remember seeing like the biggest wave I'd ever seen in my life. And I let go of the rail and then sort of like split second and sort of exploded me after that. But I came up from that wave and had like a pretty big hold down to see like the biggest wave I've ever seen in my life coming behind that. So and it literally this. I caught the first wave of this like monster set that we'd been waiting for. Yep. The next one was the 30-footer. So I think mine's probably around 25 foot. The next one was like solid 30 foot. Then there was a next one behind it. So by the time I got to the inside, I was in there with like the whole lineup. Yep. Most of the lineup were in there with me and they'd all just been taken out by the wave behind me. So
at least you got a wave.
Yeah, so I got away and I got a wave and like the wave like I came up and my fins were blown out of my board. And I was
it blew the fins out.
Yeah. But, so after that wave, I was like, okay, I'm going to go in. That was it for me. And I just like didn't think – I went in and no one saw the wave. And I remember walking up the beach and seeing a few of the surfer crew heading out and they were like, how is it? Because there was still the fog. You couldn't really see. I was like, it's so big out there. I was like, I just got one. Like it was the biggest wave I've ever caught in my life. But like, I don't know how big it is. I'd say there's like 30 footers out there. And then it wasn't until like a week later that someone sent me, Daniel Dan Russo sent me a photo, and then I found a video of it like a week and a half later, and that was when I was like, whoa, it was like it looked as big as I thought
it wasn't
it
just
felt.
a tree falling in the woods. Like I knew it was big. Someone actually documented it.
Yeah, for the first few days, everyone was like, how'd you go? I was like, yeah, I got a big one. I got exploded. Like, it was just crazy out there. And then when the photos started trickling through, I was like, everyone was like, what? Like, you said it was big. You didn't say it was like this big. I was like, well, I didn't know. You don't know, like, when you're taking off on it. And then
you can't gauge the size.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah.
So, so that was that wave anyway. It was crazy day. Flick ended up getting one as well, and I don't know how big it's going to come through. Like, I reckon it'll be around 22, 25 foot, but it's hard to say. I don't know.
It was big,
but I think they measure it from the front. So when they do the measurement, they'll say they take it from the trough of the wave to the height of the lip. So anyway, it's like a total accident, and if it did so happen to be that I caught the biggest wave paddled by a woman, it'd be very cool. But it would feel quite it'd feel pretty weird actually.
You'd be one of those situations where you're ahead of everyone else in the world for a moment in time.
Yeah, and then like I just got exploded on this like huge bomb, and everyone will be like, "That wasn't a wave, like just take off." But no, I'm stoked. I think it was like I was buzzing from that surf for like months. Still am.
Buzzing.
Still buzzing. I think I've realised now if I could just go surf, do the Hawaii season every year, go on a trip to Indo, a couple of strike missions to Fiji. That would be a happy Laura for the rest of my life.
So you're almost that's the peak. That's good. Do you have kind of a bucket list of big wave sort of conquests that you'd like to tick off? Or is there...
I'd love to get a good one at Jaws. I'd love to make it out to the channel on one of these big waves as well. Like my waves, I've just not been able to make it out to the channel, so I think I've got to work on like either positioning or the way I paddle in, and like maybe angle my board slightly more to just try get down the line a bit more. But yeah, sort of just like different ways to get into these waves and try to surf them, these big waves, and then I'd love to try get some paddle into a sort of good one at Chopes, and then same thing Fiji. Just wait for some really cool swells there, and then maybe even try paddle something at Shipstones eventually would be really cool.
What about Dead Man's closer to home?
Yeah, I've actually never surfed Dead Man's. So, funny story about Dead Man's. I've been petrified of that wave ever since Barton Lynch showed me a photo of him getting sea urchins in his foot. And I'm like, he got like hundreds of sea urchins, like the bottom of his foot looked like, it was like covered in dots. He had to get surgery. And I was training with him at the time, and it just like, I immediately was like, I'm not surfing Dead Man's ever. I'm so scared of the sea urchins. But I think that was like pretty rare to happen. So I probably should go give it a go. It's like our local like epic break, and seen Annie Dos Santos. She's been charging out there, and it's just so cool seeing all the other young ladies coming up now charging, which is rad. So many girls in Hawaii. Justine DuPont, obviously, just like next level charging, Nazare, and all those big toe waves.
So you're off to Tahiti tomorrow to be part of the commentary team. Watching the events at Pipe and Chopu, do they ever get you a little bit itchy for competition again?
Oh, I heard that they might be bringing back the Fiji event next year, and it did sting a little bit because, I mean, the World Tour now is very much suited to, you know, you're starting with Pipe, you go to Sunset, obviously Margs and the box possibly, and then you've got Chopes in there, and now Fiji will be back. Yeah, it's looking more appealing, much more appealing, but I think for me never say never, but the contest sort of boots I think have been hung up, and I feel like I've just found a little area that I'm just so like content but excited. It's forever changing, and it's sort of like the opportunity is endless really to be able to do stuff, obviously in the budget that I have each year to travel, because it's not like you're making all this money from competitions anymore, but
What about the women's division of the Eddie? You weren't in it that day, and your wave was a little bit of a like And I don't think your motivation was maybe a little bit of like, I'll show you, I guess, creeps in. But would you, obviously, I think you've probably done pretty good things for your case to be in the next one.
Yeah, I mean, that would be amazing. Obviously, Jaws didn't end up running the last 2 seasons.
Yep.
I was second alternate for the Eddie that day, and I kind of had the choice to either sit on the beach and wait for someone to get hurt, which I just didn't really want to do. I was like, I was advised to come and sit there and be there in case, but it didn't feel right to just be sitting there on that beautiful day and just like want someone to get hurt. Like, it's just kind of weird. So I was like, no, I'm going to go and surf. And I'm so stoked I did, because I pushed myself out of my comfort zones and comfort zones like a lot in many ways out there at that outer reef. So, and it was cool because a lot of the times that I've surfed big waves, I've had like a mentor there or someone there just, helping me around the lineup and showing me spots, and then maybe even, calling into a wave and just giving you that amp up into a wave. And I think me and Flick were out there and we were on our own program. We were supporting each other. And then, like when I eventually ended up catching that wave, it was dead silence. It was just like me saying go. So
it was all on you.
Yeah, it was all on me. So it was, I was pretty proud of that.
So you're off to Tahiti to be part of the commentary team. I mean, and some people would see that as another kind of high pressure setting. There's hundreds of thousands of people watching you in front of the cameras. How do you find the commentary? Do you enjoy doing it?
Yeah, I just have to think. Okay, don't swear. Don't say fuck. You can beep that one out. Sorry, I don't know if we're allowed to swear on your podcast.
You can say it on ours. Yeah.
Yeah, don't say shit.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I actually said the QS. I was like, oh, far out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I find it like, I love like being able to tell the other women's stories out there at the moment, and there's so many exciting things going on the tour at the moment, and like this event is going to be crazy for a lot of the guys and girls. So trying to get that last spot into the finals, and then I think for me commentating it, it's really good for my brain, because otherwise I think I would probably become a bit of a fairy head, and it's really good for me to use my brain and switch it on, which was great to come here and chat to you today, because sometimes I can slur my words a bit and my brain doesn't connect to my mouth and I'm just off on my own little tangent.
I think we all have that problem at times. But we also see, like, from time to time you've done the tour vlog, and even in your movie where you kind of enjoy the camera, you quite enjoy those moments where you kind of get to ad-lib and sort of freestyle a little bit. Would you like to do more TV or more things where you have that opportunity to be a little bit more free-form with it?
Yeah, I'd love to do that. I think I've had on my list for the last 2 years to like start some sort of a YouTube, and I just haven't got around to doing it yet. But I do a lot of filming and stuff, and I love sort of editing as well. So I should get into that, but I don't know how these guys do it. It's like it's a whole other skill to be able to talk to the camera. You're not talking to anyone, but like they are talking to like all their subscribers and stuff. But it's another skill to sort of try unlock. But I'd love to even get into some speaking and any sort of TV and travel. I do this really cool series with Billabong, and we go to some amazing, like, pretty, I guess, off the beaten track places around the world and interview girls that are surfing over in these different sort of cultures and communities and what they're doing for their communities and involving surfing. So that's been really cool to do that and host that. But kind of would love to dip my fingers in any pies.
As many as you can. Yeah. Do you think sometimes you're the sort of person that does just say, yep, I'll give that a go?
Yeah.
And
100%.
throws yourself over the ledge and then figures it out afterwards.
For sure. I definitely am like a yes girl. Yeah, even with the commentary, like I'd never planned to do that. Even when I started surfing big waves, I was like, oh, I'll just go surf like the Mentawais or Fiji. Like I never ever expected when I was 16 or starting the tour that I'd go surf Jaws and get into surfing these like big waves and even pipe and off the wall and everything like that. It just it's just sort of evolved, and I think it's the cool thing about life is like you can constantly re-evolve and recreate, and that's like my favourite saying that I say to anyone. Like even if you're in high school, if you're a Grom, like if you're like you look at some of the guys on tour right now, Ian Gentile, he he sort of quit surfing and then he's back on tour now, and you can just constantly recreate and do what you want, and if you can believe it, really.
Yeah, I think you say something quite poignant in the movie where you said you never really, you're saying it in reference to big waves, but you say you're never really going to be comfortable. But I think that applies to a lot of things when you're trying new things. And the one thing you learn is you're never really going to be comfortable. So you just got to get used to the fact that you've got to go, that you're not quite going to be comfortable, but you've got to do it anyway.
Exactly. I think we can, I mean, as humans, we can all like agree on that. It's like you're never going to feel comfortable about like what we're doing on this earth.
Yeah.
But there's just so many unknowns. But yeah, the only thing we can do is just give it a try and try to do what feels right and trust your instincts, really. Trust your gut. So it's like the worst thing you can do is just, do something that doesn't feel true to yourself. And we've all done stuff like that before. It's the only way you can realise that the good stuff makes you feel better.
Yeah, it's learning to hone that instinct.
Yeah, totally.
Part of the key. Well, Laura Enever, thanks very much for the chat. Good luck in Tahiti. Maybe you'll get a tap on the shoulder to at least get a couple of sets in between heats, I think. So
that's the thing. I mean, at the end of the event, I usually don't try to free surf before the event. I want all the competitors to surf, and then as soon as the event's over, I'm like, oi, I have priority now. I'm going this next set. So, everyone on tour is awesome, and excited to watch it all go down, and hope no one could hear my tummy grumbling then the whole way. I haven't got a chance to eat today, so we'll go feast in Bondi after this.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Laura. Cheers.
Effie.